Hey everybody, welcome to another Show It webinar, and we are so excited for you to be here today. We have another special guest for you. And so we're gonna go over a little bit of ground rules before we get her on the screen. First, I wanna know where you're logging in from. I know typically we have people from all over the world logging in, and I'm sure Cara would wanna know where people are logging in from. And also, we're talking about content marketing today, so I want to know, what social media platform is your go-to right now to promote your business, so that we can have some good discussions about that. And like always, we're on the internet, so things can happen. Sometimes your screen might buffer. Don't forget you can hit that refresh button. But also, we are recording this live, so know that you can always come back to this YouTube link, and you can rewatch whatever you missed. And throughout, we are going to have a live Q&A at the end with Cara, which is so exciting. So make sure you're asking questions throughout her talk so that we can make sure we ask her those questions at the end. Other than that, let's get started. Okay, we have someone from Portugal logging in today. We have Canada in the house. And some platforms that people love to use are Instagram, LinkedIn. Those are all great platforms to get your business out there and get people knowing about you. All right, so I'm sure you're ready to hear from Cara Chace. So she knows that sometimes content marketing, it can feel so heavy, it can be draining, it could be time consuming, and it's never ending. But today she is coming on our screen to let us know how to handle all of that, run a business, and she is an expert in her field. She's a CEO, she's a wife, she's a mom. And her whole goal is to work better so that she can live well. And she's going to teach us how to do that today as well. So you guys, welcome Cara Chace.
Hello. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. This is going to be a really fun presentation. And Shamisha and I were joking before we got live here, because if you can't tell, I'm a little bit stuffy because I'm getting over a cold. And both of my kids and I were sick earlier in the week, and we were joking about how much easier it is to keep running your business when you're organized, because there's always something that blows up your week, whether it's sick kids or you getting sick. It's just real life. And being able to stay organized and have a plan makes it easier to keep things going and not get behind, all of that good stuff. So real life, I am getting over a cold. So if I need to stop and take a sip of water, just bear with me. But I am so excited to bring you these strategies and these tips and content to help make your life a little easier with your content marketing. So let's get into it. All right. This is what we're talking about today. As Shamisha said, content marketing is never ending. If you don't market your business, your products, your services, you're not going to be in business very long. Whether you choose social media like LinkedIn, I saw people in the chat talking about LinkedIn and Instagram, or it's email marketing, or paid advertising. However you choose to market, you have to let people know about your business. And there's so many ways to do that, and it can be really overwhelming to try and figure out what to do when, how to keep your assets organized and on brand and all of that. So we're going to talk about that today. If you don't know me, I'm Cara. I'm the creator of the Theme Day Planning Method, which is where I teach my peers how to make time to do all of the things that are important to them, both in life and in business. I'm also the creator and the writer of the Sunday Inspo email. It's a free weekly newsletter where I send you 3 tips to work better and 3 tips to live well. If you have heard of me before, you probably know me as a Pinterest expert, and I have spent many years helping online entrepreneurs build evergreen marketing funnels with Pinterest. And a couple of fun facts. Yes, these are both true. I am a former special agent for the federal government and the former social media manager for the band Megadeth. And I like living life by my own rules. And that is my whole reason for becoming an entrepreneur in the first place. And I bet there's a lot of you here that can relate to that feeling. So this presentation is going to help you if you feel totally burnt out with your content marketing and if you're getting inconsistent leads. And we're going to talk about why that's happening and how to fix it. So if you're overwhelmed, you're burnt out, you have inconsistent leads, you're probably in this arena. You forget to market regularly, and it leads to that inconsistent income. When a Stripe notification comes in, you're surprised. Oh my gosh, I made a sale. And it's not a consistent thing that happens for you. You don't know where to start with your marketing. And you get caught in this education and research and reading and downloading freebies and trying to come up with a plan instead of taking action on a plan. And maybe you feel like you're throwing marketing spaghetti at the wall because you don't know what resonates with your customer. You haven't talked with them. You haven't done any message mining, is kind of one of the terms we use in online marketing. And instead of fully marketing what you have, you've got these inconsistent leads. You don't really have a good marketing plan. You're throwing spaghetti at the wall. So you move on to creating the next thing instead of really diving deep into fully marketing what you've created for your audience. When you're organized and you have a plan and you're consistent, you're going to spend more time in focus and flow. That is that feeling where time kind of melts away. You love what you're doing. You end the day and you realized you got everything done on your to-do list. That is focus and flow. And that happens when you can concentrate on what's working in your marketing strategy. And you're going to create a simple rinse and repeat system that you can do probably 3 to 4 hours a month. And it's going to lead to consistently growing your leads and your revenue with in-depth marketing that really uses your product or your services. And you're going to finally have a working marketing funnel that attracts the right people to you and what you offer because you already know what they want. Okay, it's actually pretty simple, okay? And I don't say that because it's obvious. I say it because we tend to overcomplicate things as online entrepreneurs, as the CEO of our businesses. We get distracted by strategies and playbooks and all of these other things out there. And it's actually 3 really simple ways to stay organized with your content marketing. Again, we want to keep this simple. We don't want to overcomplicate it. Plan and batch your content. 1 second. I cannot say enough about how batching my content completely changed my business. It allowed me to scale a Pinterest marketing agency and take on more and more clients. It allows me to work essentially part-time because I'm a mom of littles and we essentially have a homestead where we're growing food and doing all sorts of fun things with our home and our property. It allows you to be so much more efficient with your time, and your content and your marketing fits perfectly with this concept of planning and batching. So we're going to go over how to do that and some key points that maybe you haven't realized if you've tried to batch before and failed at it. So first, what is batching? It's simply doing like tasks together or similar tasks together. So you're doing a bunch of the same thing at one time. You need to make it work for you. I can give you all of the playbooks and how-tos in the world, but the key for making this work for you is to take what I'm going to teach you and make it work for your time, the way your mind works, the content that you have to promote. And if it doesn't work for you the first time, tweak it. Really, that is the key, is making it work for you. So the first thing you're going to want to do is decide how often you want to promote your product. Then you're not waking up every week going, what am I going to promote this week? Or what am I going to promote this month? Take a look at your product suite or your services suite and decide, this month I'm going to promote product A. And next month, I'm going to promote services, this service, whatever it is. Start framing out from a top level view what you're going to promote, when, and how often. That way it's already done for you. And this is one of the biggest issues I see with content marketing for online entrepreneurs is this, what am I going to do today? Or what am I going to do this week feeling? That's the first step in getting rid of that overwhelm and getting organized. When you create your marketing content all at once, it lets you be focused instead of context switching between all the different tabs on your computer. So when you sit down, say you're going to batch all of your Instagram content for October, you're doing that all at once and you're in the right mindset and thinking about hashtags and research, etc. Excuse me. So that you're not context switching between a whole bunch of different tasks. 1 second. So sorry. Told you it was real life right now. Okay, so as I said, decide how often you want to promote. This could be that you don't want to forget, you want to promote your free newsletter every single week. So I know that I want to create at least one Instagram story every single week to promote signups for my newsletter, right? It doesn't have to be a big, I'm going to do a live launch or participate in a big affiliate launch this month. Really start thinking about what is the consistent content that you're putting out every day or every week. You do not have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to come up with something new to promote every single week. It can be as simple as, I want to make sure I promote these products or these services every single week or every other week, or at least once or twice a month. Then you want to plan your batching and your content creation. Now, this is key. These are two separate things. This is where most people try to batch and it's too much for their brain. It's too much to take on, and it feels too heavy or overwhelming, and they stop doing it, and they kind of go back to this, what am I doing today or this week mode. You want to create a time to create your actual content, like your graphics and your verbiage on your post or your hashtags or whatever it is. That is separate from the time to go into your scheduler, whatever you're using to schedule that content out. So for example, we do Pinterest client management. We batch the client's pins and create the titles and descriptions for those pins in one block of time. And then a separate block of time is getting all of those pins put into Tailwind, which is who we use for scheduling. And feeding that out to be scheduled into the client's Tailwind queue to go out on Pinterest. So what most people do is they think, okay, I'm going to do all of Instagram for October. And they do the graphics and they do the hashtag research and they do the captions. And then they, whatever scheduler you're using for Instagram. And you're not context switching because you're doing the same project, which is your Instagram content, but you're using different parts of your brain. So the creative part of your brain wants to do the graphics, maybe is coming up with some verbiage and all of that. But then when you switch over to the scheduling and the batching and deciding what's going to be put out when and does it make sense, that's really more of the analytical part of your brain. And that can make you tired. That going back and forth between creativity and more like logical and analytical is like brain context switching. So have those be two separate tasks that you do where you create the content, but then schedule it in a different block of time. And then batch by type or content. What that means is there's two different ways you can do this, and you will have to decide what works better for you, your brain, and what gets you into focus and flow. So type could be, like I just said, all my Instagram content. So maybe I'm pulling in quotes from blogs, or I want to share something, or I've got a carousel post that I'm pulling out from a blog or whatever it is, or a video snippet, something like that. You're just focusing on, I'm creating all my Instagram content. What I mean by batch by content is, say you have a new blog, you might decide to batch that by pulling out the content from that blog and creating an Instagram story and an Instagram post and a few Pinterest pins and your LinkedIn article And everywhere that you market your content, you're using that one blog to create several different pieces of content. So both of those are options. And again, see which one works for you, because I'm guessing one or the other is going to feel more natural and easier for you to get through. But try each of them and see which works for you. Okay, so when will you promote your signature offers? Are you somebody that launches a couple times a year? Or even if you have evergreen products or services and it's a signature higher end offer, do you know you want to create more interest and warm up your list at certain times of the year, you want to make sure you put those in your calendar so that you can start building out the time to get that content created, scheduled, and batched, not last minute. Is there seasonal timing for your business? One of the things that I do is a free printable planner. That's part of the theme day planning method. And I know around December, everybody is looking for how to better manage their time and their to-do list and new planners and all of that kind of stuff. So I know there are seasonal trends for particular things that I offer in my business. You'll want to keep that in mind as well. Weekly and monthly cadence. This is what I talked about, where it was like, if you have a weekly newsletter and you want to make sure you're putting an Instagram story up at least once a week saying, hey, sign up for my newsletter. This is what we talk about. This is what you get. Make sure that's in your workflow for what you're creating, to make sure that gets out consistently. Same thing for monthly cadence. Maybe you have like a mid-range course or product that you want to make sure you're promoting on social media or your email list once a month. Number 3 is probably where people drop the ball the most. I know I have in the past, where you really think about your signature offers and your launches and the seasonal timing of stuff, but you forget that consistency of showing up every day, every month, and every week as far as putting out your content. And then you're going to have your affiliate offers. So there's a lot of people in the online space that have taken some of the big name signature courses that they launch every year or twice a year, and they do a big affiliate promo for those. So if those are things that you participate in, you'll want to make sure you build in time for that as well. Okay, again, have time set aside for your content. Separate that from the time for your batching, and then batch by the type or the content. If that is confusing to anyone, I'll be happy to answer questions when we have a break for that. But separating these out is really going to get it clear in your head, so you're not trying to bite off more than you can chew. If you have been totally unorganized and flying by the seat of your pants, and you try and do this all at once and you're going to sit down and do it, chances are you're probably going to burn out and maybe do it for a month and then totally fall off the wagon. I've also been there. And so I know that breaking this up into these pieces are what is going to get that plate spinning for you, with each of them, so you can create that system for yourself to stay organized. Okay, organize your assets. I am one of those people, when I see somebody with files all over their desktop, it makes my eyes start to twitch a little bit. Everybody's different, right? Everybody's brain works different, but the concept is, if you don't know where to find the things that you need quickly, you're going to waste so much time. How many times have you looked for the right file, compressed and has a transparent background for the sales page you're putting up, and you're clicking around your Google Drive for 20 minutes because you can't find the right one? That's a problem. I don't want to waste time doing that, and nobody else does, right? So you need to be able to quickly find what you need. That starts by having templates, clear SOPs. SOP is standard operating procedures. It's like your system for organizing your assets. And you want to have your brand style guide because you don't want to reinvent the wheel every time with your marketing. Don't go into Canva to create Instagram stories for this week and spend 20 minutes scrolling templates to pick something, right? And then maybe you put your logo on it and call it good. You really want to have organized branding for yourself so you can really quickly create the assets that you need so you can get to that content batching. You have to find what works for your brain. The way you organize your assets in your folders, the only thing that matters is that it works for you. So I'm going to give you some examples of how I organize things. Take it for what it's worth. Leave the rest. They're just to give you some ideas. You just have to figure out what's going to work for you. So you got to have a web-based filing system. Google Drive and Dropbox are the most common ones. The reason for that is you want to be able to access any of those assets from your phone, for your team to be able to access them, all of those things that are just really essentials for how we all work nowadays. You want everything in its place and organized. This doesn't always stay that way, right? This is kind of like when you organize your closet and then 3 months later, yeah, it's not looking so great. But you at least want to know what goes where so you can either do your best to stay organized or know how to quickly clean up when it's time to do that. And the best way to do that is with consistent naming and those standard operating procedures. So what makes sense for your business? This is a screenshot of my Google Drive that we have for my business, and I know where everything goes. My brand elements, all my logos, my stock photos, what's on my website, all of that kind of stuff. Content and products, all of my blogs and my products and my services, all my email marketing goes in there. And then the rest are like back office stuff, finances and accounting, internal communications is me and my team, any legal documents and contracts, and then miscellaneous gets cleared out quite a bit. That can be a dangerous folder to just kind of put everything in. And then it's always nice to have a separate swipe file when you come across marketing that really sparks your interest or grab your attention and you want to save it, not to copy it. That goes without saying. And then you likely have a project management system. I use ClickUp. Lots of people use Asana, Trello, Monday, right? There's a bajillion project management applications out there. But same thing, you really want to know exactly where everything goes so you have a good system for getting your content created for you to access and for your team to access, or your future team if you're not there yet. Canva can get real messy. This is probably the one that's the worst for me because my team is in Canva all the time for our clients, but they know the SOPs for how we name things. Obviously, anything that's CC is for me and my brand and my business, and then we have our clients and they have initials as well. So making sure things get filed correctly, and that's part of your workflow and your system, so that go into either your Google Drive or Canva or your project management system, you know how to get your fingers on exactly what you need quickly. Bonus tip. This one took me a long time. Create a recurring task for yourself or your VA, if you have a VA, to organize and delete your assets twice a year. I have been through many iterations of my branding, my website, my color palettes, all of that kind of stuff, templates that we use. And it gets real irritating to go into your brand elements folder and you see, all your logos from 5 years ago, and you have to scroll to find the one for today, right? So this is kind of the same thing as you clean up your closet and then a month later, it's not so perfect anymore. That's going to happen. It absolutely is going to happen. So create a recurring task for yourself to go in and organize those folders. Or what you can do is have a monthly task to just organize one folder, right? So you kind of stay on top of it and have a recurring task for that. Okay, this is where the content marketing gets really good. Repurposing your posts and your graphics. So this is at the very beginning of the presentation when I talked about how we don't do in-depth marketing. We just kind of move on to the next thing after we've, told about our product or services a couple times. It's because you're not repurposing enough, and it's more effort to create something new and market that than it is to repurpose the existing content, products, services that you already have. So people are not paying as much attention as you think. That is why you see brands constantly posting and marketing their products and their services on social media, because chances are most of their audience has never seen that post before, or they didn't open that email that week. So you want to talk about that blog, 3 months later or 4 months later, because, maybe a lot of people didn't see it. So don't get rid of this whole, I've posted it once, so that's that. That is not what we need to be doing. In order to repurpose effectively, you've got to have organized assets, right? You have to have a style guide and templates, and you have to have a content calendar. The reason for that is you want to keep track of if you've marketed this product or content to the fullest extent. So say you publish a new blog, you put it in your email marketing newsletter, you put up an Instagram post, and maybe you write an article on LinkedIn. 3 months later, you want to look back and go, I could create an infographic as a Pinterest pin with that blog. Start thinking about how you can draw all the different elements of this amazing content or product or service to really show your audience what you have to offer them. And that is the easiest way to keep track of if you've really done that in-depth marketing. So this is my style guide. This makes it super easy. I actually have this. This is funny. I have this on a clipboard at my desk because I constantly refer to it when I am creating assets and doing templates and working on my website or sales pages or whatever. I literally have this at my fingertips, printed out on my desk. Makes everything so much easier. And this is what it looks like in action. You can very clearly see how this translates to this. These are Pinterest templates for me, for my brand and my content that goes out every single month. My team is amazing. They know exactly what to do. But my goal is that when someone is scrolling Pinterest, they can easily see which ones are mine. Like the branding, the look and feel instantly makes them think that's a pin from Cara. And having these templates that are all branded with your style guide makes it so much easier to very quickly create your content marketing and be able to stay consistent with your batching and your scheduling. Okay, so content calendar does not have to be complicated. It can be a simple spreadsheet. So we actually still just use a spreadsheet for our Pinterest clients, because a lot of them, everybody has different project management tools that they're used to. So trying to onboard clients to ClickUp when they're used to Asana or Trello proved to be really difficult for us as a team. So we keep it in a Google spreadsheet for our clients. It, again, does not have to be complicated. You can use your project management software. So for me and my content that goes out on Instagram and anything else other than my Pinterest content, it all actually goes into ClickUp, my email marketing and Instagram. And then scheduling software is the way to go. You don't want to be posting natively if you can help it. I know like Reels, you can sort of schedule them, but you can't use all the features yet, but you can batch a bunch and create in drafts. You kind of have to figure out what that looks like for you. Again, my team and I use Tailwind for most of Instagram and Pinterest, but there are so many out there that you might know and like and prefer. It really depends on where you're posting. So just make sure that you have the right tools to do this consistently and to get it all set up. Okay, here's your workflow. You have a piece of content, blog, podcast, video, opt-in. Could be a product, could be a lead magnet as an opt-in, whatever you want. You're going to pull out tidbits, so quotes, lists, testimonials, a summary, infographics, anything where you can have that snackable, bite-sized piece of content that is pulled from your main content. Then you want to decide what platforms you're going to put it on, and what does each platform require for those posts. So you don't want to auto post your Instagram post to Facebook, which is going to go out to LinkedIn and it doesn't look right. Platforms don't like that. I think we all know that by now. So you really have to consider, based on the platforms that you're marketing on, what do they require for best practices for the content, and how are you going to create those tidbits of content marketing to make sense for those platforms. And then you want to create the posts, so the actual content marketing with platform-specific graphics and verbiage. If you remember when everybody started auto-posting from Instagram to Facebook, and you would see these Facebook posts with a snippet of verbiage and then 30 hashtags, nobody liked that, right? So you really have to consider and be purposeful with your content marketing and make it platform-specific. Okay, take a sip of water here. So let's recap the 3 ways for you to stay organized with your content marketing. Plan and batch. Separate out those tasks so you're not trying to do too much at a time. Focus on the creative part, then focus on the analytical part. Have your assets organized in a simple system that is web-based, that makes sense for you. Get the way you name your files and your folders down right. Really take the time. This is a great, over the holidays when you're hiding in the guest bedroom at your in-laws' house pretending to work. Take your laptop and start organizing your assets. It's a great behind the scenes task to do. And then make sure you're repurposing your posts and your graphics as much as you possibly can. So you're pulling out all the good stuff from what you've created and what you're offering, and make sure to keep posting them. Don't just post them once. Make sure that every couple months or every couple weeks, you're reminding people of what you have for them. So when you have all 3 of these, repurpose marketing, scheduling and batching, organized assets, that is when you get marketing without overwhelm. It does not have to be complicated. It is not about the best time of day to post, or which platforms to use, or what's trending reels, or all of that stuff. It is simple, consistent work that you create a system around that works for your brain so that you can stay on top of it and make sure that you're telling your audience what you can do for them. Okay. I made it through without having a coughing fit once.
That's great. I mean, that's awesome. So we do have some questions from the crowd. And I just got to say, when you said you can hide and do your work, I was like, that's the perfect way to not be rude and still get out of it, right?
Right?
That was great.
Do you want me to stop sharing my screen?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, so awesome. So you talked a lot about time for content, time for batching, but then you're batch by type and then you batch by content. So can you explain that a little more? A
little bit more. I know it's kind of hard because we're used to just trying to get everything done at the same time. So there's a couple different concepts here to tease out. So let's talk about first you create the content and then you schedule and batch it. So when I say batch the content, I mean when you're actually going in, I'm just going to use this as an example. When I go into Tailwind and put all of the pins that I've created for October into Tailwind,
okay, I'm
batching out that content.
Okay.
That is different than creating all the pins themselves.
Okay.
The graphics for them. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Another question. Sorry, okay. I didn't mean to interrupt. Keep going.
No. Did you want me to go into the whole batch by type or content?
Yes, that was where I was going.
So type in the verbiage and the vernacular that I'm using, when I say batch by type, I mean typically per platform. So if I'm saying try batching by type, I would say try batching all of your Instagram stories at once, or try let me back up. Try creating the graphics for all of your Instagram stories at once, or all of your pins, or all of your LinkedIn graphics, whatever it is. Or when I say by content, that means the piece of content you're putting out there, whether that's the blog or a podcast or a lead magnet or a new product or whatever it is for marketing, and pull all the different assets out of that one piece of content that you can across your marketing platforms.
Okay. That makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes more sense. So when you're in the phase in your schedule of time for content, so how much time do you spend on that? Do you break it up by like kind of what you want to promote for the month?
So I've already created my content calendar of like, here's what I want to promote for the month, or, whatever it is. So that was in the very beginning when I was like, you decide what you want to promote when, so you get rid of that decision fatigue. So before I sit, I've usually already decided what it's going to be for the month. That is like quarterly planning or yearly planning type stuff. So when I sit down, I usually do it by platform and by type. So for example, I'll sit down and take 2 hours to create all the graphics, for my Instagram feed post for the month. Some things take longer, some things take less time. Like Pinterest is so quick and easy for me. I can sit down and create the graphics for 40 fresh pins in like 30, 45 minutes. So it really depends on how much you're marketing, how many platforms you're using. But I would say if you're new to batching and sitting down and doing this, don't be like, okay, I'm going to do everything in one day a month. Break it up by like, I'm just going to start by batching my Instagram posts, or I'm just going to start by batching, my LinkedIn posts, whatever it is. Just do the same thing so your brain isn't trying to, switch between, whatever, but take it a little bit at a time.
And do you feel like you can push out that much Pinterest content because it's just on brand? Like it's so much easier when everything's branded for you?
Yeah, that is the whole, like, have your templates in your branding. I'm not sitting there scrolling Canva or clicking through a bunch of, templates that I bought from somebody, which takes so much time. Like, it's kind of fun, but it's a distraction.
Yeah.
Right? You might enjoy scrolling through Canva to find a new template that you really like, or whatever, but you're actually wasting time and distracting yourself. So that's not to say I don't refresh my templates. Probably about once a quarter, I'll go in and like, let's add something fresh or something new into my set of templates.
Okay.
But by having them set and ready to go and branded, it's really quick. And that's true for not just Pinterest, but Instagram, stories, LinkedIn, whatever.
Okay. Awesome. All right. So we have a question from, Isabel. And she asks, what about the need for engagement after posting on Instagram if you're using a scheduling app?
So that is something you have to, decide on your own. Engagement isn't really within the scope of like, organizing your content marketing. What I would say is that is a really good thing to schedule into your week. So I don't spend all day on my phone. I check Instagram every couple of days, really. And I schedule time to go through my social media and check for comments, check for messages, check for opportunities for engagement. So that is an important piece of social media marketing, as we all know. But you can really quickly get lost in, the scroll hole and waste a bunch of time doing that. So my recommendation to stay organized with it would to be schedule it into your week.
Okay, awesome. So you also talked about repurposing workflow. Where does that fall in like your content or your batching?
As far I'm not sure exactly what you mean.
So you talked about like you're pulling from your different, or like a blog post, you're pulling and you're
Right.
repurposing, but you
Mhm.
talked it. So would that fall more under like you're batching by content, or is it? Sorry.
So what I will do, like say I have a new blog post and I
Mm-hmm.
go, okay, I can, I will know from that blog post all the different content that I want to create for it. So I will say, like, I want to do 3 Instagram stories this month. And then maybe I want to make sure and put it in, 3 months later, something like that. I will put that in my content calendar.
Okay.
So I'm not sitting down right at the time to create all the content from the blog post as soon as I write it.
Okay.
I actually put it in my content calendar what the content is going to be for that blog post and when I'm going to post those. And
Okay.
when I sit down to actually create the graphics and do all of that stuff for the month, I will already know what's on deck and what I need to be doing.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that explains it. Okay. So we have a question from Amber Ford. When it comes to the type of content, for example, do you know for the type of content, do you know when you should post a carousel video or static image, and do you find videos get more views?
I'm not an Instagram expert, so I cannot speak to any of that. This is definitely, I'm not an Instagram expert. So you just have to test and see what works for your audience, right? That's the answer nobody wants to hear. And I get that. But it's true. I have seen people get amazing results posting. I think the trend right now is posting Twitter threads as a carousel, right?
Mhm.
Repurposing. That does well. Some people do really great with video if they're super creative or they use, audio that's trending. But I cannot speak to Instagram. It is not my wheelhouse.
Yeah. So, question: we talk about like, because we get overwhelmed by trying to create content. Um,
Mhm.
if someone is just like, video just isn't for me, but it seems like that's the way to go, would you suggest like, don't do something that overwhelms you? Just do what works best for you, mindset wise, and stuff like that.
Absolutely. This is one of those like stop following everybody else's playbook.
Yeah.
Um, and I have been in courses and masterminds before where it was like I got in there and the way that they were teaching was something totally counterintuitive to my personality. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not the person that's going to be cold DMing 50 people a day just to get the numbers for the lead percentage. It's just, bleh. I don't want to do any of that. So just because somebody says video is the way to go and you don't want to be on it, do what you like doing, because the fact of the matter is if you don't like doing it, you're not going to be consistent with it. You're just
Mm-hmm.
not, right?
Yeah.
You can muscle your way into it for a while, you can trick yourself into thinking that you will, but if you don't like doing it, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah. For sure. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, that seems to be all the questions. And thank you for explaining a lot more of what you were talking about in your
Yeah.
presentation. But guys, we're so happy to have Cara on today. If you have
This is
any
fun.
additional questions, you can reach out to her, DM her at Cara Chace. Chace. And so make sure you reach out to her if you have any additional questions. I put in the chat if you want to sign up for her Sunday newsletter. I put the link in there, so go ahead, click on that. It's a lot of great stuff. But we're super excited to have you. And you guys, we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Bye.
See